Hi guys, so next video I thought I'd do a little series of videos on the clothing worn and the equipment used in the Falklands campaign. Given it's the 35th anniversary this year just been, obviously in April, May, April and June. So we'll start off with combat clothing and windproofs. This is going to be less in depth than I would normally do for looking at individual patterns of uniform and pieces of equipment. We'll just look at the basics. It's not going to be comprehensive either because I don't have everything in my collection that was worn, obviously. But we have the basic combat uniform of the time. The British Army was what's colloquially known as the 1968 pattern, actually introduced in the 1970s. Very early 1970s combat uniform. It follows on from the combats introduced in Korea and then standardised and modified to make the 1960 pattern combat uniform. Flat patch pockets, as the 1960 pattern combats have, obviously missing the flat patch pockets, missing the pleat off the lower pocket, which the 1960 pattern uniform had, but you don't yet have the bellows of the 85 pattern. Plain collar, so you remove the stitching. The stitching is no longer there. The collar is just a plain collar that can fasten right up with a button. You rarely see it worn that way. Tend to see it open at the collar. These were worn by, primarily you see these worn by 5th Infantry Brigade. Obviously the Royal Marines issued this as well. So you see a mix of kit in 3 Commando Brigade. 5th Infantry Brigade had essentially, this was the basic combat uniform for the Guards, Scots and Welsh Guards who were involved, and the supporting elements. The jacket out of the way, trousers again differ from the 60 pattern, which were also made in DPM material as well as the green, but these are the 68 pattern. 2 pockets on the leg, dressing pocket on the trousers there. They're lined, waist adjusters at the side, and these are, the date on these. Unfortunately, the label on the jacket and the trousers is rather washed out. So yes, but that's the basic sort of combat uniform that was worn. These are very heavyweight compared to modern combats, and they didn't dry too well. As you can see, it's quite a thick material. They didn't dry out too well after getting wet, which was one complaint that was made. But yeah, that's the standard sort of early 80s, well, through the 70s to the early 80s combat uniform. And here we have the Arctic Windproof combats, or the official designation is now Smock Combat Windproof Arctic. These are mid-80s. I can't read the contract number on the smock, unfortunately. It's pre-85 because it doesn't have the dressing pocket on the arm. They are of Falklands pattern, but you primarily would have seen pre-metric sizing in use in the Falklands. The metric sizing system was introduced in the early 80s, so newly produced items which were rushed out for use in the Falklands would have had the metric sizing. Primarily it would have been the pre-metric system with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. However, these are the correct pattern. You've got the smock. These were issued to both the Royal Marines and the 2 parachute battalions which were attached, 3 Commando Brigade and supporting arms. You've got the smock with these big bellows pockets on them, both at the skirt and on the breast. Wired hood, which I've done a video on recently where I've put fresh wire in there. Was that on this one? Yes, it was on this one. You've got a rank slide in the back and also in the front on the opening. And you can see here, inside pocket here. I think there's one on the other side. Is there just the one inside? Just the one inside pocket. You can see the print showing through. It's quite a thin material, but very much a windproof material. It's very dense weave, gabardine. Plastic zip, and then Velcro closing down the front as well. And the cuffs can be drawn in using Velcro too, with a little tab there, and then a strip of Velcro, so you can close the cuff up. Unfortunately, the Velcro is going on these, so I might have to replace the hook part of the Velcro there. The hood can be drawn in using a piece of cord or lace with this lock, zip lock system. What's it called again? Fix lock, sorry, not zip lock, fix lock. And then there's also a piece of cord at the back which can be used to tie and draw the neck of the hood in as well to provide additional protection. And then the trousers follow the basic combat pattern in that they have a pocket on each. Oh, that's the back. Pocket on each leg. As you can see here, these have been quite heavily repaired. Pocket on each leg and the dressing pocket, so they're similar to the standard combats in that regard. But you have these slip pockets with a flap, Velcro flap that you can. They're quite voluminous in there. There is also a rear pocket, which in this case there's been a reinforcement piece, a repair piece put in there, which has closed that off. Do have another pair, which I think the rear pocket is functional. There we go. You can see there. This one's had the dressing pocket removed from the front, unfortunately, but you can see there a little tab, button round tab, and a rear pocket there. Belt loops, etc., as per the standard combats. And at the at the ankle here, you have Velcro openings, so these can be put on and off as an overgarment. So you can take them on and off over boots. That Velcro allows you to obviously open up the bottom of the leg. And again, as with the smock, I think I mentioned the leg pockets of this bellows design, so they're quite voluminous. You can keep a lot of kit in them, and you do see photographs in the Falklands of both the smock and the trousers quite heavily loaded with kit, because the pockets were very useful. You're carrying a lot of small items, bits of rations, things like that. Ideal, you know, first aid kit and so on. So there we are. That's the smock and trousers, the Arctic Windproof combat set, and we'll move on to look at some other bits in the next video.